What's going on, everyone? I would like to welcome everyone to episode 6 of the Smooth Podcast, simply motivating others onward through hope. Here I have with me my guy, Ricky Luis. How you doing, man?
Hey, man, I'm doing good. How you doing?
Very good, very good, very good. For those that don't know, Ricky here is a CEO and founder of Priv Parking, which he brought some gear. This is the first time someone's brought something to the podcast, so I'm extremely thankful for that. Thank you, sir.
We starting a wave, man. We setting a wave. You can't come on here without bringing something.
There you go.
Gotta bring something to the table.
He also United Neighbors of Lower Roxbury Board of Treasures. So that's pretty interesting. We'll get into that. Let's first talk about your early life, man. Where were you born? Where were you raised?
Yeah, let's go into that. And a lot of y'all know me as Ricky, but real name is Ricardo Lewis. So I just want to make sure people be like, that's Ricky or that's Ricardo. It's Ricardo Lewis. I'm a kid from Jersey. I'll be honest with you. I was born in Newark, New Jersey, Brick City. My parents, they separated when I was earlier in my life. And my mom moved to Massachusetts, and she resided in Boston, Brockton area. Mm-hmm. And my dad and all my rest of my family stayed in Newark, in New Jersey. And so I got the option of having two lives. I would go to school during the fall with my mom, and then during the summer I'll come and live in New Jersey. So it was kind of weird because I had two groups of friends. I was cool to my New Jersey friends, and when I came to Boston, I was the outcast. But then it would be vice versa. So I got a chance to kind of do that. And then as I got older in high school, I kind of settled right here in Massachusetts. I went to school in Mass, and then I ended up going to college out in Jersey, and I ended up finishing out here in Massachusetts. So,
what kind of student would you say you were?
I'm going to be honest. I wasn't, school wasn't my thing. I'll be honest with you. I think what really kept me involved with school in high school was sports, right? I was always an athlete. So I played football. Football was my thing. And, to be able to play on the field, you got to maintain a C, a C average, right? So I could get the C average, the A's and B's. It wasn't I couldn't get it. It's just that, school to me was more go to school so I could play football. And, my parents want me to go to school. So I'm going to do it just to make them proud. So, you asked me what type of student I wasn't very academic. That makes sense.
And those can be very different places, Boston and Jersey. I actually lived in both, so I have quite a foundation in both. What would you say the biggest difference between both of those places were/are?
For me, the biggest difference between both Massachusetts and New Jersey is the culture, man, to be honest with you. I feel like here in Boston, if you look at Boston and we look at Newark, right, two big major cities on the Northeast. Newark, I think Newark has more of a strong black presence than Boston, right? Newark has had black mayors. There's never been a black mayor in Boston, right? But majority of residents that live in Boston are black, right? So it's kind of a different energy, a different feel, a different environment. But both cities are both they're both developing, and I can definitely see change and when it comes to black and brown presence in the city. So I think that's the biggest difference. Right.
And what did you study in college?
I was a double major. It's crazy. In high school, I didn't, I wasn't, school wasn't my thing and whatnot. But when I got to college, I woke up and I started taking myself seriously, right? I think when I saw that I can get into college, that was kind of a aha moment. Damn, I could really get into school. You know what I mean? Not just, I got in because of football, but when I was in the class, I was you know what? I want to learn something. I want to see where I really am when it comes to the student body. And so I actually have two majors, finance and economics, believe it or not. Yeah.
So you went from school not really being your thing to double majoring, huh?
It's crazy, man. Crazy how life works.
Yeah. And so you're in college, you're double majoring, you get out of college. What do you do from there?
Everyone always asks me this, man. It's they always ask me, how'd you end up in parking and transportation, right? And so when I was in college, remember, I just came from Jersey, right? I was in Jersey for a little bit, and I came back here to do school. So I lived on campus. And when I lived on campus, when I was in Jersey, I was living pretty good. I lived at home, my dad, I had a job, I had some money. I could always, party and do things. So coming to Massachusetts, living on campus, it's my world went upside down. I was damn, I ain't got a job. I'm living on campus. I'm playing sports, but I still always wanted to have a good time and have fun. So I was damn, I need to get a job. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I got to get a job. And so I was trying to think of like, where do I want to work? Like, do I want to work in restaurants? Do I want to like, I would go down the list, try to figure it out, like what makes sense for me. And I always had a driver's license early, when I was like 16 years old. So I was like, I remember that movie like Ferris Bueller.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, you know that movie? And I thought started like the valet. And I was like, let me try to apply as a valet attendant in Boston, right? Because everybody wanted to work in Boston. That's where everyone was going. Man, I'll make some money in there. And so I applied to be a valet parking attendant. And I ended up getting hired, and that's how I got exposed to the whole valet parking industry. I was like that guy in front of a restaurant saying, hey, how you doing? Let me park your car and whatnot. So that's how I got exposed into the whole valet. That was my job. That was my part-time job in college, and I did that my junior and senior year, and I did well. I made good money.
Right.
And so, that's kind of how this whole thing began.
Depending on like where you're valeting for, I can imagine the tips being, really good at some places,
Man, you don't even understand. When you are living on campus and you go home and you got cash anywhere between $300 or $500 and you live on campus. Back then, you was doing
100%.
You bought all the cool bottles.
100%. I worked at a convenience store right off of campus, so mine was a little bit less luxurious.
Okay, but you still, you still getting.
But I can understand having $500 and being like, you know what, I'm up right now.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So you're working as a valet. Was there any like moment working as a valet where you're like, wait a minute, like how can I turn this into an ownership position rather than me working for someone?
Was there any moment? I'll keep it real with you. Coming from where I coming from a working class family, first generation, Haitian American, it was interesting, right? People would pull in and you see all these like exotic cars, right? $100,000 cars, Ferraris, Lambos, Bentleys, you name it all. Like that was pulling in. I was working at some of the fine dining restaurants in the city of Boston. And what that did for me was like, damn, like I'm driving this car right now. This car's in the music video. Or, damn, I dreamed about driving something like this. And it just kind of like motivated me. Right? I would be like, yo, who are these people? What are these people doing? Like, how they get here? Right. And so being able to just like, park these cars and interact with these people, I was like, yo, I want to be that. That's going to be me. So that's what was my moment. Every time someone came in with a nice car and they were just happy about being out and being able to bring their family, I was like, you know what? That's going to be me.
Mm-hmm. And so what were kind of the steps that you had to take from, being a valet to being an owner? Walk us through that process.
It's real difficult. I'll be honest. It was a really difficult step, right? Because when you're working for someone, right, you have your roles and your responsibility. You know what your job is, right? When you are an owner, you ain't got a job. Your job is to make sure everything running. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, it was challenging. I keep it real with you. It was real challenging because I'll be real. In college, I was a double major finance and economics, but college don't teach you how to run people. College don't teach you how to manage people. College don't teach you how to leverage deals and build relationships, right? You kind of got to figure that out on your own, and that's really what it's about when you're really a boss and you really, starting your own business and trying to make things happen. So from the transition, it was tough because I didn't know anything. But just because I didn't know anything don't mean that I couldn't learn, right? So, there's a saying, right? You rather deal with somebody with zero credit instead of somebody with bad credit.
Right.
Because a bad credit person got bad habits. Right. So for me, I didn't have habits. And people just saw opportunity. And it was just like, you know what? Let me teach you something. Let me show you how to go about doing this.
And now, did you seek this kind of guidance and this kind of mentorship, or did it kind of come naturally with some people that you just ended up crossing paths with? Yeah,
to be honest with you, it was more like it came natural to me. Like I said, I played football in college, right? So anyone who plays sports or part of a team activity, y'all could all relate to this. When you were part of a team, you're going to deal with criticism, right? You got a coach, right? So your coach is always going to critique you. So when you're getting critique, you're not like, damn, F my coach, I hate him. Nah, you like, yo, thank you, coach. You trying to get me better to be the best I could be, to do whatever. So for me, it was like natural. I was like, yo, hey, if I ain't doing it right, tell me how I'm doing it right. If I'm not approaching you a certain way, then tell me how to approach you a certain way. And I think because I was open and I was more willing, people were like, you know what, I'll take a chance with you. Like, you want to learn. You're not stuck on the own way. You don't think you know what you're doing. Like, the thing with me was like, listen, I don't know what I don't even know. So teach me.
Right. And what would you say was like kind of your first break, like your first real moment of like, oh wow, like this owning my own company thing can actually be a possibility?
Man, I'll tell you this right now. So I was living at home. I just graduated, right? When I graduated, I ended up getting a job working as a financial analyst for an IP firm in Boston. And it was cool. You know, I did the valet thing for like 2 years. You know, I was more excited. Like, I got a job, right? I'm a financial analyst. I'm working at this IP law firm. I get to wear, you know, my suits and ties, and, you know, I get to live this dream, the Wolf on Wall Street I thought I was going to live like, right? And for me, I was like, yo, screw valet. I don't need to do it no more. I'm out of college. I got a real job. I got a big boy job. So I left the valet for like 6 months, and I went into corporate. When I went into corporate America, I was like, damn, hold on. This ain't the Wolf on Wall Street. You know, this is a different dynamic. Things are different for me, you know? And so with that being said, it wasn't who I was. It didn't match my personality, right? I was always gone from my office trying to meet people and connect, right? And what it taught me was like, damn, I'd rather park cars instead of being behind the desk doing numbers, right? And so it was a long weekend. And, you know, when for most of y'all who ever work in corporate, when you're the rookie on the floor, that means you don't get the same privilege as everybody else. You got to earn your way up. You know, that's how it is in corporate. And so it was a long weekend. And I think I was like the only one in the office, literally. And, you know, like my job, I was an analyst, right? But I was doing things like making sure the mail went out. Like things like, yo, this ain't a part of my pay grade. You know what I'm saying? So my buddy calls me. So I'm in the office probably like 5 o'clock. My buddy calls me. I had a friend that was still valeting after I graduated. He was a year younger than me. He was still valeting. So he calls me and he's like, yo, such and such came in today and they haven't seen in a while, and they wanted your contact because they want to follow up with you. You know, because I was a real person. I was able to develop some really good relationships with people. And they were like, you know, they want your number. Like, is it cool if I give them your number? And I was like, who was it? And he told me the name. I was like, hell yeah, that's my man's. Like, tell him, yeah, give my number, this and that. And he was like, yo, no matter what. And I left. Like, remember, I've been gone for 6 months. So when I left, he was like, yo, it's crazy, yo. People still talk about you. They still be asking about you here. And they be like, yo, what's Ricardo? And this and that. We be telling him, like, yeah, you know, he not here no more. Like, Ricardo moved on. He got a real job. And he was joking. He's like, yo, you should start your own company. At the time, I was like, yo, I ain't got time, man. It's a long week. I'm trying to get out this office. What y'all doing later? What we drinking at, you know? So I was like, yo, I ain't got time to deal with no nonsense. So I hung up the phone with him. And I ain't gonna lie to you. I had this, like, I don't know. I call it, like, a calling from God. Like, literally, like, he slapped me in the back of my head. I was like, what are you talking about? And then I just got, like, this image of me, like, starting a valet company. Like, literally, I just saw myself doing a valet company, like, just growing this brand and whatnot. And so I went on Google and I was like, how to start a valet parking company. Literally, I just typed in how to start a valet parking company. And all these things just came out, all these articles. So I was like, man, let me read this shit. So I printed out. I'm reading it. You know, you need insurance. You need employees. You need all these things, right? And I'm like, damn, I'm going to do this. Like, literally, I was like, yo, I'm going to do this.
From jump? Like, you weren't kind of, like, nervous at all?
Nah.
From jump, you were like, I got to do this.
You know what it is? Listen, when you know what your purpose is and you know what you're great at, I'm talking about great, not good. Because you can be good, but you can't be great. Right. There's some things you're great at.
Right.
When you know you're great at something, I knew I was great at valet parking. I knew that. You know what I'm saying? So when I just had to learn the back end on how to create something to call it my own, it was easy. It was exciting.
And for everyone watching, you know, he touches on being great at something. And this is something that I kind of, within the last couple of years, really honed in on. It's really a mix between what you're good at, what you're passionate about, and what doesn't kill you to learn more about, right? So there's certain things in my life right now that I want to learn about. Yeah. If learning about something is real tedious and you have to drag yourself to do it, chances are you should not be doing whatever that is. You should be wanting to learn more about whatever you're passionate about, right?
Absolutely, man. Look at the greats. Look at Warren Buffett. Look at Bill Gates. Look at the greats. Look at the people that are really running things. And one thing they all got in common is they love information and they love learning new information, right? They read all the time, constantly. That's one thing I'm not saying go out there and read a book every single day, right? But if you took time in the morning, you know, we love social media on our phones, right? Instead of going on IG, if you took time and went on Google News and just read what was going on, that's information right there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I agree with you. It's about really understanding your passion. But my thing is a lot of us go through life doing things because we feel like we need to do it. We don't do things because we want to do it. Right. And that separates, you know, the workers from the bosses.
And we'll be 1,000 times better at the stuff we want to do than what we feel like others want us to do.
You're right. You're right about that. And that's you know, that takes a strong person, strong-minded person. You know, entrepreneurship ain't easy, man.
Yeah.
It's lonely. It ain't easy. And you know, when things fall, you don't want to blame. Ain't no coaches.
So kind of like speaking about that, here on the Smooth Podcast, we like to talk about not only the highs, but I really gravitate towards, you know, the failures and the lows, because in every successful story, you know, it seems to be the same kind of story where, yeah, I fell on my ass 3-4 times and I really had to like dig deep and get through it. What was kind of that moment for you? What was like a major setback or a major failure for you where for most people, maybe they would have given up right there? Like, what was that moment for you?
I got a couple, but I'm gonna share a significant one to me that really put me down. I started my company at 22. Right in the beginning of 22, I wasn't making any money. I remember I was making like $200 a month, living at home, trying to figure it out. Right, my mom's yelling at me every day, "Go get a job. This ain't making you no money. $200 a month is nothing. You can't even pay to afford to live in my house." Right, clowning. And I had this restaurant, man, and this restaurant was a good restaurant because it had like the high rollers and the VIP and people who ran things in Boston coming in. And I got an opportunity to park someone's car, and this woman changed my life. Right? She was like, "This is your company?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Would you ever want to do parking solutions?" And I was like, "What's that?" She was like, "Well, valet parking is a parking solution or something. You ever thought about doing something within that like area?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." She was like, "All right, I'm gonna set you up. I'm a niece of somebody big. Come into this dealership." I was like, "All right, what day?" She was like, "What's your number?" Walk in this dealership. I'm not gonna say no names. I ain't gonna put the names out there, but you know, it's one of the biggest parking dealerships in the Northeast. You know what I mean? If you know the name, you know the name. And it was a BMW dealership. I'll just leave it as that. And I walk into this dealership, and you know, I'm with the decision makers. I don't know what I'm getting myself into. I'm with the decision makers, and they like, "You the parking guy?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "How long you been doing this for?" I was like, "I've been doing this for enough to know, you know, we gonna come up with a solution to solve your problem." Right? I talked my way into a deal. I was 22 years old, turning 23 at the time, and I closed a $450,000 contract with a BMW dealership. I remember being in that room. I ain't know nothing. I swear, I just talked through my teeth, man.
Now, before you continue, the two things that kind of stick out to me about that is, one, confidence, right? Like, a lot of people think that you have to have it all the way together and have to 100% know what you're talking about to exude confidence and to kind of win people over. That's not the case. Actually, more times than none, the case is you hope, you know, you're shooting a prayer, but you got to keep on shooting, right? The second thing is relationships. You would have never stepped foot in that building or gotten an opportunity if you didn't have a decent relationship with the woman that pulled up that day, right?
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. You know, one of the things they say is, people don't invest in products and services. They don't. People invest in the people behind the products and the 100%. Services. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
And so when I went into that meeting, I knew who I was. I knew I was confident. I just had to let them know that I was confident and I knew who I was, and they felt that. And that's why he cut that deal and gave me that contract. So long story short, I get this contract, big contract, right? 450,000. No idea what I'm doing. All I know, I need 15 employees.
And now I want to dig into, you know, he gives you the contract for 450.
Yeah.
What's your end though? Like, what do you have to do now?
So how it works is, okay, when they said parking solution, they're like, "Listen, we got on this part." So in this parking in this dealership, right? They had about, I would say, 90 spaces. They had 90 spaces to park cars. So that's if someone buys a car, that car can go there. If someone's getting the car for service, it can go there, right? So let's just think about a dealership real quick. When you go to a dealership, let's say you buy a BMW and your car needs to get service, right? You might be there all day, or you might go to work and they might bring it back to you, right? But that car got to sit somewhere on that dealership, right. And so it sits in a spot. So this particular dealership only had 90 spots, but they were doing 250 cars a day just service.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? So that's a huge problem. Where the hell you gonna put the extra, vehicles, right?
They need another spot.
They need another spot. So they not in the business of figuring that out. They in the business of selling cars and fixing them. they going to hire someone who's an expert. And that's where I came in. So they believe like, yo, we don't care what you do. We just care that these cars don't get damaged. If they do get damaged, you going to pay for it.
Yep.
And you going to make whatever happen, right? It became a logistic. You know what I'm saying?
Now, did you have a spot already to put these cars?
Nah, we had a spot to put it. I told you, man. It wasn't that.
All right, so walk us through it. So, all right, you know, they have all these excess cars that they need a spot for. You sign the contract, you don't have a spot.
Nah, we don't have a spot. We don't got a spot, but I did a site visit. So on the site visit, this dealership is in a neighborhood, right? Every neighborhood got street parking. They had a warehouse. The warehouse was like 0.3 miles away, right? So they're street parking and they got a driveway, right? The driveway could hold about like 20 cars, put 10 on each side, right? So that right there, I said, okay, so there is space. We just got to maximize the space. How do we maximize the space, right? We had to work with the service department. If you getting just air in your tires, there's no reason why your car got to sit in a spot, right? I got to be quick in and out, boom. So we was like, listen, how hard is it to do air into someone's tire and to reset the sensor? It take you like 5 minutes. Keep it real with you. If you got to do all 4 tires, it might take you 6. So what I do, I said, we're going to put valets there, and I'm going to train all my valets how to do it. So we take care of that problem right there and then. You pull in, we just do it. You ain't got to wait, boom, stay in your car, turn your car off. We go in, put the air in it, and then after that, we reset it, you go off.
And before, that was all customers that they were getting that they would have to deal with.
Because there was a line, right? So they may have, think about it, got to go to the mechanic, got to go in the shop. That car got to sit somewhere. Then you got to get to it, right? So initially, that something like that would take like an hour process. We was like, yo, we do it in 5 minutes, 5 to 6 minutes. They don't got to sit. And cars were coming in every day like that. So they was just like, damn.
And then instead of a big garage, you're just finding empty parking spots on the street.
Well, let's say, for instance, you bought a brand new BMW, you drove it for a year and your engine blew, right? Your car ain't working no more. You got to get the car towed into the dealership, right? That car going to stay for a while. They don't got engines like that. They got to order it. They got to assess it. So if I got guaranteed spots, I'm going to put that car in the guaranteed spot because that car, you could put it way in the back. That's going to sit there for a while. Why do we need to put that car somewhere that's going to interfere with the operation of parking? So we were able to identify which cars are going to be here for a while and which cars are only here. We understood the turnaround time for each vehicle. And what we did was we made each customer a number. So if you number 1, you the first car of the day, right? What's number 1 getting done? Number 1 got to do X, Y, and Z, boom, boom, this and that. Damn, that's probably going to be here for a week or 2. Throw that in the back, right? All the back rows, we know we're not touching those for another week. Don't ever put a car that's don't ever put a car that's going to be here for a week ever in the front of the line because we're going to have to keep moving it, right? It's going to interrupt the whole operation. So it became like a chess match, right? You identify what cars are going to stay a while, and then you was able to do this and that. So that's how we were really good. But that's how we were able to sell them too. Because when we did that site visit, I was like, damn, they got these people moving cars, but the people moving cars don't know how to put air in a tire or reset the program. If they did, then that will eliminate a lot of this time and a lot of like cars just staying. You know what I'm saying? So you had to like figure it out. Mind you, the reason why I was comfortable doing this is because as a valet, when you valet a car in a restaurant, man, you get a car and that car gets a flat tire. Ain't no going back to the customer and being like, hey, I'm sorry to interrupt your dinner. You got a flat. You got to fix it, right? It don't work like that. That's your car's in your possession. It's in your responsibility. You got to figure it out. Call a supervisor. Yo, they got a spare in the car. Yeah, they got a spare. Y'all going to learn how to change these tires today.
Wow.
You know, the car need gas. We can't get it out the garage. We park in the garage. It might not come back. Y'all going to figure that out. Go put gas in the car. Charge it to the customer after, right? So valet taught me a lot. It taught me how to deal with all these problems. So all these problems that was coming, I was like, yo, they just don't know because they're not in the business of providing a parking solution. They're in the business of selling cars and fixing them.
Right.
And so that's how we were able to get that deal. And going back, the reason why I'm sharing all this, because at 22 years old, when you get a significant contract like that, your life changed.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I was 22.
If I got a check like that today, my life would change. You know
what I'm saying? And on top of that, I had restaurants too. That was just one contract. I also had other restaurants in the city. So we were making a lot of money. I was making a lot of money at that time. But one of the issues that I had was I didn't know what to do with the money. You know what I mean? I didn't have no one to be like, yo, this is how you budget. This is how you do this. This is how you do that. It's how you handle money. It's how you leverage it. You know what I mean? I didn't know that. I was 22 years old. You couldn't tell me nothing. I thought, it was about going out and living like a rap star. You know what I'm saying? And so what happened was we were operating that. We did it for 6 months, right? It was a year contract there for 6 months. I come in one day to the dealership because I would come in all the time. This dealership was like crazy. I was just like from 6:30, I think, all the way until like 8 p.m. So I go in one day and they're like, yo, you need to go in the office. The service director want to talk to you. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to the office. What's up? Walk in the office. Hey, what's going on? You want to talk to me? Yeah, Ricardo, close the door.
That's never good.
That's you already know. Once he said close the door, like, what you mean close the door? Like, we can't talk in public with the door open? Like, what's going on? Close the door, like, we decided to terminate your contract. It's like, what? Yeah, we no longer need your service. Whoa, what do you mean? Nah, we no longer need your service. And you don't have to come back tomorrow. What? Like, what you talking about right now? Yeah, and also, too, we talked to your guys. Majority of them are coming back tomorrow. We don't need you anymore.
Wow.
I was like, that.
And so, like, there was nothing in the contract that they had to fulfill for, like, the remainder of it?
I was 22 years old, man. I was 20. I didn't know nothing. I found a lawyer. He said he could do the contract. I paid him. I didn't know these things. They didn't teach me. I didn't go to law school.
So they probably just paid, your workers a little bit more than what you were paying, cut you out, and they already knew what to do.
You already got it. And mind you, we talking about a $1 billion car empire. I'm going against $1 billion. They had a team of lawyers. I just had one I didn't even know.
Man.
So my whole life changed after 23. I go from, I go from, living on my own in Boston in a nice spot, living a certain lifestyle, depending on that contract was like 75% of my revenue.
So, that gets cut out. You still have like the little restaurants.
But they wasn't able to maintain my lifestyle. Remember, I had.
And, for the viewers out there, that's the hardest thing to go back in. You can go back into a lot of different things, but going back in lifestyle is the hardest thing to do.
Yeah. It's like your whole life you in first class and you got to go to coach. It sounds crazy, but there's people that really will like have anxiety attacks.
No, it's different.
It's different. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so, I'm young. I'm 23 years old. I just lost my biggest contract for my company. I can't really do much, right? Who's going to fight a billionaire?
Right.
Not only is he a billionaire knows people. He knows everybody. Right? So what do you do?
And so, before you move forward, I was always going to ask that, but I feel like now is the perfect time to ask. Even the $450,000 contract, from what I used to live in Boston, but from what I know of Boston, it's very, Caucasian ran and like gatekeeper-esque.
Oh yeah.
So like even you getting the 450, like there weren't people trying to shut that down at all, and there wasn't anyone that's like, oh yeah, you get 450, but you got to pay my cousin here. You got to go. You have to get the car treated here. Like,
there's always something in the details of the contract, right? Yeah, like I felt, like I said, I was really inexperienced on closing those type of deals. To keep it real with you, so, if a car got damaged, we automatically assume responsibility. And it's like, how do we assume responsibility? Think about it, right? You come in, we park your car, leave your car in the back. Let's say like someone, one of the mechanics decides to take the car out, smashes it, bends it, something happens, and he just go, fuck it, I'm just going to put it back in the same spot. The valet company got to deal with it. Mm-hmm. And that's how it went. Like, we had to assume responsibility. And when those cars got fixed, they determined who fixed it and at what price.
Okay, I knew there was something. All right, there you go. I knew there was something.
Yeah, so it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot you learn, but it's a part of the game. It's a part of the process. It really is.
So now how did you kind of like get yourself back up? And
I mean, I'll be real with you. That was the hardest year of my life, like for real. You know what I mean? Like, you want to talk about like going through it? Like, I went through it. You know what I'm saying? Not only, it was embarrassing. You know what I'm saying? Telling your family, your friends, your significant other. It's really embarrassing. It's like, damn, like you were up and now you ain't got almost nothing, right? And how I battled through it. To be honest, I'll keep it real with you. You call it what you want, but it was fate. For real. I'll tell you what happened. So when I lost that contract, a lot of my I had to downsize a lot. I had to change my life around. My lifestyle had to change. And so with that being said, like I remember I leased the car. I had a nice hot boy car. I leased it. Couldn't afford it. I had to take that. I went through a lot. And I used to have workers working at the restaurant, but I couldn't afford to pay them anymore. So I had to valet park myself. So I'm valet parking and I'm going through tough times, like real tough times. And I run into somebody, an old client. They're like, "Hey, how you doing? I heard that you got, this deal and you're doing well, X, Y, and Z." It's like, "Nah." I was like, "This is what happened." And they were like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "I'm sorry." And I was like, "You're sorry ain't gonna help me pay my bills." You know what I'm saying? Right. I'm struggling. Like, what you mean you're sorry? And he's like, "Listen, Ricardo, I'm gonna give you a number. Call this guy and tell him what happened." "Who's this guy?" "Just call the guy and tell him what happened." It's like, "All right, cool." Called the guy. He's an attorney. "What's your story?" Told him the story. "Damn. Yeah, they took advantage of you. But I got you." "What you mean you got me? You know something I don't know? Don't worry about it. You believe in this?" I was like, "Yeah, I believe in this." He's like, "It's gonna be a fight, right?" I was like, "Well, do you think we could win?" He was like, "Do you think we could win?" I was like, "Yeah. This is a story. This really happened. It's how it happened."
So you took him to court.
We sued him.
And won?
They settled.
Man. And what year did they settle in?
They dragged that thing out for about a year and a half, man. Went through hell for a year and a half. I'm talking about like, when you I don't know if a lot of y'all ever had to like sue somebody or sue a company or sue a major corporation. It ain't fun. Trust me. If avoid lawsuits, always try to settle. Like I tell everyone that, avoid lawsuits. But when you're suing someone and they go to and they're going through like the details, right? It's like I forget the term of it, but you're like literally going through like everything that happened, right? You got to explain everything, and they're digging up all the dirt. It gets ugly. It gets really, really ugly. They pull the contract. You signed it. You didn't know what you were signing. It gets real. What'd you do with the money, right? And then, they try to make you look like you're the bad guy.
Try to paint a picture, yeah.
Right? Like, you mismanaged, right? And then social media is a real thing. They'll take that social media. You in the club popping bottles. This wasn't a mispractice. This was him just mismanaging his money. You know what I'm saying? It's his fault, right? But I was real fortunate. Like I said, I had a really good attorney. And that attorney fought. And I helped him. And we did really, we put a great package together. And when it was time to go to court, I'll never forget because, I became real spiritual during that year and a half, to be honest with you, because I knew how significant this individual was, this corporation. And, when you're filing a lawsuit against someone like that, if it goes good, you all right. If it goes bad, you done, right? And so we got a court date. And like I remember that week, I was just like shaking. I was nervous. I wasn't myself. I was already down and out, right? And like let's say if the court date was on a Thursday, my attorney calls me on Wednesday, and he's like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "Fuck." I'm like, I'm home. Why? He goes, "What are you doing right now?" I'm like, "What's going on, man? Just tell me. Like I can't go through. I already went through a lot. What's going on, man? Just tell me." He goes, "You sit down. Sit down." He goes, "They just called me. Their attorney just called me." I go, "What happened? What they saying now?" "They don't want to go to court on Thursday. They want to settle. This is what they want to offer you." That was like.
And now the amount that they sell for, I don't want you just, to tell me, but how was that even like kind of configured? Like what's the appropriate amount to settle in something like that?
Well, things get settled different. There's multiple ways to skin a cat, right? Like, so say for instance, you had a $100,000 contract, right? And that was for a whole year, right? So every year, every month, how much you're gonna make, right? Until that goes out. So if you did 6 months of that contract, you're owed
Oh,
the rest of the 6 months, right?
Yeah.
And so, sometimes it gets settled like that, or sometimes they're like, yo, what is it going to take for you to stop being a pain? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is it going to take for you right now? We write you a check right now, and what's going to take to be done, right? It all depends on how much leverage and advantage you have when it comes to these things. That's really what's about. That's why I say, lawsuits, stay away from them. They're expensive, and it gets ugly.
And from that point to present day, have you just been acquiring other restaurants that want your services or other businesses that want your services?
You know what's crazy, man? The crazy thing too is like when we won that victory, right? I literally got a call like 2 weeks after. I was like, "Hey, you still in business? We want to use your service for this restaurant, for this hotel." It's like, what? It was crazy. It's like, I'm telling you, man. Like, my thing is fate, man. I'm being serious. Like, you know the story against David and Goliath. Like, I lived that. Like, I really lived that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not. This ain't nothing out of a book or a movie. I really lived that. You know what I'm saying? So I see things differently. Like, I had my aha moment. I wasn't supposed to be here. You know what I mean? I'm going against a machine. And we won. It's a small victory, but we won. I'm here. Privé Parking's here. We doing great things. We're doing big things. Right? We're not supposed to be here. So, that right there is just like, it's my testimony, man. It really happened. You know what I'm saying? And I'm happy to share that with people because we don't hear enough stories like that. Right. We only hear all the goods. You know what I mean? We forget the goods. We want to hear the truth.
100%.
So I'm here.
And how did COVID affect your business, if it did?
Man, COVID affected everyone. It affected it. We when COVID happened, I remember it was like April, March. I think no, it was March 2020. We're in operation. Got all my restaurants running, doing valet, doing great things. And I remember like my clients calling me like, "Yo, we're closing down." I'm like, what? Like, yeah, we're closing down. And everyone just started closing down. I'm like, yo, I still got my bills to pay. Why everyone? Damn, this shit happening again, right? And what I realized was COVID put a lot of people out, man. A lot of like my competitors and a lot of other parking companies ain't around no more. It's crazy. Like they not around, they're not in business no more. We were really able to sustain ourselves. And we took full advantage of, just opportunities for small local, black and brown businesses. We were really able to like really get enough resource that we were able to maintain ourselves for those 2 years. And not only were we able to maintain ourselves, I think there's something to be said on what happened during COVID. As you guys all aware, we had a public national tragedy that happened with the George Floyd situation, right? And when George Floyd happened, I think I think America woke up. And not only did they wake up, America really wanted to create opportunities for small, local black businesses. And we were just there. And so we got a lot of calls to come in on a lot of significant real estate projects in the city of Boston. So we went from doing the operation piece of the parking, doing the parking lot attendant, this and that, to now we're parking consultants and transportation consultants for major developments, We're the parking transportation consultant for the redevelopment of Fenway Park, right? And that's with the Boston Red Sox, WS Development, the Giangelo family, and Privé Parking.
Wow. And, before I go into the rapid questions, I just want everyone out there to know, this, can we say it's $1 million company?
No, we're not $1 million company yet. We'll be there.
Soon to be. I'm going to speak into existence.
Yeah,
the soon-to-be $1 million company started from him being confident enough to get some excess cars out the way when he didn't even have a place to put them. And that's the kind of, betting that you have to do on yourself.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the mark, man. Me being confident enough to believe in myself.
Yes, sir.
For real. That's the story of Privé.
Yes, sir. All right. Let's get into some this or that questions. So I'm going to ask you this or that. Yeah, you give me an answer.
Let's do it.
And you can explain why and, really briefly. Hot or cold?
Hot or cold? Mm-hmm. Cold. Because you can always get hot. Put some clothes on.
Okay. Best rapper, Lil Wayne or Kanye West?
Come on, man. We really doing this? Weezy, of course. A legend. Wheezy, of course. Come on, man. Those mixtapes, we still bump those mixtapes. Kanye the GOAT, but Wheezy over Kanye.
Okay. Would you rather be loved or respected?
Love. Well, you could do, not everyone's going to respect you, and that's a fact. But what's more important than love?
Jersey club music or Afrobeat?
Jersey club music or Afro beats, man. We gonna keep it in the root. Homeland, Afro beats, man. Afro beats.
Okay. And what do you think about Swing That or the Sexy Walk? Now, for the local podcasters, like I said, my mom, she's lived in Jersey. I've spent summers in Jersey. They have this, Jersey club music, which is like a really big thing, especially in like the early 2000s, mid 2000s. And it was like a bunch of dances. So these questions, you're going to be like, what the heck is this guy asking?
Swing That. Is it Swing That like the... Yeah. And then what is it? The Jersey... You said the Jersey Walk?
The Sexy Walk.
The Sexy Walk. Sexy Walk is like when they...
Yep.
Walk. Swing That, because anybody could just swing that. You know what I mean? It don't even matter. Swing That. So we don't
y'all have
swing
to
that.
Google that. Swing That.
Yeah.
All right. This next set of questions, I'm going to ask you if it's smooth or not smooth.
All right,
and the same, you can say either or, and then give just a brief example why. $300 first dates.
$300 first dates. Smooth or not smooth?
Mm-hmm.
Smooth.
I mean, that's pretty much a bag of chips in Boston, right? You go to a movie, spend $300 in Boston.
Set the standards high.
Yeah. Surgery abs for males.
Not smooth. Nah. Not smooth.
Splitting rent with your significant other.
We living together?
Mm-hmm.
Damn. Splitting rent with your significant other, we living together. Not smooth.
Social media.
Smooth. Just know how to control it.
Okay. Designer clothes.
I can't talk. I got designer on right now. Smooth.
Smooth. Hoochie daddy shorts.
Smooth.
Okay.
Short legs need hoochie daddy shorts.
New England winners.
Smooth, because everybody always want to be in New England during the wintertime. Everyone want to experience at least once, like the snow. So smooth.
Okay. And now these next set of questions is just going to be the first thing that pops out in your head, okay?
All right, let's go.
Your biggest inspiration?
My father. Yeah.
Okay. I have a feeling you're going to say Boston, but if you could live in any city, and this is in America, in the world, doesn't matter. You don't have to worry about working, and you can move, whoever you want. If you want, you can move all your friends, your family, if you want. What city would you live in and why?
That's a tough one. In the U.S., Houston. Outside the U.S., Medellin.
Colombia, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Why for both?
You said, money and all these other things wasn't a factor.
Yep.
Houston is a well representation of black successful people, I think, in this country. A lot of people of color are doing well in Houston, and they do it well with a smile. Like, you can't beat that. You know what I'm saying? And the cost, there's no cost of living. So cost of living don't matter because money ain't that factor, but there's something to do every day. And not just at one place. Right. Like, there's 10 options a day to do something.
You're the second guest to say, you're the third guest to say a city in Texas. You're the second guest to say Houston. I have an attraction to Houston. I've never been, but I need to go.
You never been?
Never been.
Man, go to Turkey Leg Hut. If y'all know what Turkey Leg Hut, if you don't, Google it. Houston will change your life, man. It's crazy too because it's in Texas, right? You think about Texas, that's a red state. Nah, I'm not going to Texas. They crazy. They doing all this crazy thing out there, which is true, but they're not doing that in Houston. Houston's different, man. Houston's a melting pot. It's different.
What's your favorite clothing brand?
Oh man, Balenciaga.
Okay.
Yeah.
Top 5 artists that you currently listen to.
That I'm currently listening to?
Yep.
Lil Baby. I said Lil Baby. I still listen to Jay. I like Chris Brown. That's my man. I like Chris. I ain't gonna lie. I listened to that Beyonce album. She doing her thing. And then Burna Boy.
Got you. And last but not least, if you could have lunch with anyone, who would it be and why? Dead or alive?
Dead or alive. If I could have lunch with anyone, who would it be and why? It could be anyone. Jesus Christ.
And why would you pick Jesus?
Damn, because he went his story. Yo, like what was going through is how he stayed so nice. Yo, how you stay so nice? Like he was going against like, you know, the Romans. Like, yo, give me game. Like, yo, you really walked on water? Like, did you really walk on water?
You want to know the facts.
Did you really make a blind man see?
That's funny.
You really don't drink? Like, I got questions for him. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's what I would love to talk to. If it's someone, you know, obviously besides Christ, dead or alive. Damn. I'm going to do someone living. Let me see. Someone living I would love to have. You said dinner with?
Mm-hmm.
Lunch. Who I want to have lunch with? I want to have lunch with Barack Obama. Yeah.
You know, a lot of people talk about, you know, him maybe not doing as much for African Americans as he did for other social groups.
Yeah.
But what I always say to that is like younger African Americans or even like, you know, African Americans my age to see a representation of us at the highest power.
Yeah.
That's a lot than most of us can ask for anyone in a lifetime, right? Like just knowing that it's possible.
Yeah.
The simple fact of knowing that it's possible. Because you can only do things that, you know, you believe that you can do. And seeing a representation of yourself, you're like, oh, man, I can actually do that now.
I mean, you know, it's funny you mentioned that, right? I feel like whenever we are the first of something, we're so critical on each other. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if you ever noticed that. Yeah. Like, you know, the first black head coach, critical on him. First black president of the United States, gunning for him, right? And you also gotta understand too. You gotta take yourself out of your own reality, right? And kind of look what's going on here, right? And we're going against a system that wasn't designed to have us in it, right? Like this is like a machine. You know what I'm saying? Like if I say, yo, you gonna go in a boxing match and you gonna box a machine, that shit's hard. There's not enough you can do to prepare to really take down that machine, depending on how that machine is built, right?
Right.
And so, with that being said, you know, I'm not looking at the criticism. I'm looking at the progression. And what does that mean? Barack Obama being a black president means that they could be another one. The first black head coach in the NFL means that they could be another one, right? First black parking company in the parking industry and, you know, what someone considered one of the most conservative cities in America means that they could be another one. Forget all that criticism, right? What does that lead for the future? Because that's what it's really about. And I think, you know, instead of, you know, a lot of us like to focus like, nah, he ain't do enough. Nah, but Brock didn't do enough he did more for X, Y, and Z. Man, the fact that he even became president is life-changing.
100%. Last question. Out of Audi, BMW, and Mercedes, what brand is the best and why?
Nothing against Mercedes. It will never be a Mercedes. My dad drove a Mercedes, and I think my dad's old. so
you correlate like, Mercedes with old.
Yeah, I was like, nah. So it won't be a Mercedes. Audi, BMW, be a BMW, man. I think BMW does a better job at like marketing performance. You know, I'm more like I like fast cars. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So I think BMW does a better job. But all great brands, you know, but BMW for me.
So before we wrap it up, if there's anyone out there and they're like kind of on troubled times or they just hit that brick wall, is there anything that you can tell the people out there to kind of keep them motivated and focus on their goal and just kind of stay on the right path?
Yeah. I'm not gonna tell you something that you probably hear before, something cliche-ish, right? I'm not gonna do that. But what I will do is I want you to, whoever that is, or whoever needs to hear this, when you imagine something, especially when you imagine yourself doing something, right, or becoming something, right, that's a communication with you and a higher power. Whatever that higher power is, whether if it's a god, a tree, a goat, whatever your higher power or your belief is, right, your vision is a message, a form of communication between you and that, whatever your beliefs are, right? It's meant for just you to understand it. It's not meant for me or for Ray or for your mom or for your dad or for your best friend to understand that, because they're not going to understand what's meant for you. Only you are going to understand what's meant for you. So when you see yourself doing something, just remember that's meant for you to see and only for you to understand. And majority of people won't understand that. And that's okay, because it's not meant for other people. It's meant for you. So I think if you just remind yourself these things, because it ggets hard, And when I wanted to start a parking company, man, everyone from my family, my friends, everyone thought I was crazy. It was like, yo, Ricardo going to see now. You talking about you want to start a company in Boston. He crazy, right? But it's okay. I had that vision. And no one understood that vision. That was okay, because I understood that vision. And Privé Parking's here. We strong. And so just use that, if you need to use that as an example, use that as an example. But just remember, what's meant for you, no one won't be able to relate. So sometimes it ain't even worth sharing it with people. Just keep doing you, and that's meant for you. So that's all I would say to people out there who's battling and struggling. It's tough, but guess what? You're meant for it. It's for you, and don't forget that.
Well, I want to thank you, man, for
Always,
coming on the podcast.
I appreciate it.
And
appreciate
thank you
it.
for everyone out there watching.
Appreciate it. Hey, man, don't forget, man, when you come on this show, we giving Ray the Privé Parking hat. I don't know if y'all can see it, but we giving Ray the Privé Parking hat. We doing it different.
And I got the T-shirt.
He got the T-shirt on too, man. You wanted the double P's. You know what I mean? Do what makes you happy. Do what you want to do. Follow your passion and make it happen. And that's all I got to say. Ain't nothing in this world easy. Let's get it, man. Black excellence.